Young Masters, it's time to continue the adventure, and after playing for more than 100 hours between the CN server and the official launch, I got a ton of tips and tricks that should help you with your progress. What's up guys, my name is Fervor, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking out everything, and I mean everything I wish I knew sooner before starting Where Winds Meet, giving you some of the best tips that I missed out on early that actually slowed down my progress so that you don't make that same mistake. And with that, let's dive into the video. First thing first, when it comes to experience, compared to what we saw on the CN server, things seems to be significantly different now in the global release. When you're preparing for your breakthrough, once you reach the level cap, XP was stored relatively heavily, and in a lot of cases after completing your breakthrough, you would completely level up all the way to maybe even the next breakthrough cap. Currently in the global release version, I've noticed a massive change in how the XP work. After playing the entire day yesterday, I noticed I could only gain one level after breaking through, meaning after spending most of the day playing, a lot of the stored XP didn't really seem to translate to much, and it felt like I wasted a lot of XP. In the CN version, it seemed like they had some form of catch-up mechanic where the stored XP actually had way more value, and players could level up significantly faster, which seemingly isn't present here in the global release. What this means for the player right now is that the more you play while you're capped, the more XP you're going to be losing out on. Is this game ending? In my opinion, not necessarily. I think it's way more important to just go get all the things to make your character better, like your inner ways and skills, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind. When it comes to progression, one of the most important things to make sure you're not overusing is your pillow powders. As the player continues to level up and get closer and closer to the level cap, the more value these pillow powders actually become, simply because they're going to be significantly more value as you get higher level, since the energy will be used more efficiently. What pillow powders actually do is give you 60 energy every use, and what this means is if you're building this up naturally while you're progressing to the level cap, by the time you actually get to the points where you're actually using your main gear, which is usually around 90 to 100, whatever the level cap here is in global, I'm not exactly sure what that is now. These things will significantly be more valuable when you're trying to round out your gear compared to using them now while you're just going to replace it in the next couple of days as the level cap continue to increase. I think for the most part this one is pretty straightforward, and the mistake I made a few times in the past was I was using my pillow powders wildly and not taking advantage of them when I actually needed to use them, which is when you're getting closer to the end game and perfecting your build. Now while we're on the subject of progression, on the other end, things that a lot of players are actively not doing, and that is managing current energy. If you head into your wandering path menu, this is going to be the menu you look at when it comes to a lot of your energy management. At the top here, you'll notice that your energy charges every couple of minutes, as well as an indicator on how much time it takes before it's fully reached. One thing that is super important is that energy should be saved to some degree, but at no point should energy ever be wasted. So if it's still day 3 and you're sitting at 300 out of 300, there's a very good chance that you've been wasting quite a bit of energy that you could otherwise use to get yourself different rewards, gear, and experience, and many other valuable long-term upgrades that actually help your account. Unlike a lot of games in the current global launch, there is no form of saved energy. So if you're planning on taking a day off or living your pretty normal life, and you see your energy is reaching that time where it gets full before you're back online, maybe consider using some of that energy so you're not missing out, because otherwise that resource simply will be wasted. Another area I was extremely passive about was doing outpost challenges as well as online play. Outpost challenges are missions all around the single player map in which players storm an outpost, clear it out, and obtain rewards. Keep in mind you can do this in group play as well, but there is a ton of first clear rewards associated with clearing this place out, and there's quite a few on the map. Now I bet you're wondering, why is it important to actually clear these when you're not necessarily getting the chest? For a couple of reasons. First off, there's a first clear bonus associated with it that will give you some progression based rewards that's going to be valuable. In addition to this, and I would argue significantly more important, there are dragon keys that can unlock dungeons and martial arts, and I've noticed that generally speaking, after completing 2, I've usually gotten one for free, and on top of that, a lot of inner ways are actually tied behind some of these outposts, meaning if you're not doing these, you're skipping out on unlocking some of the better inner ways that can actually refine your build. This of course goes to sword trials. This is co-op play, or smart assist if you prefer to play without players, which pits the player into a boss arena that rewards a first clear reward that once again can give you Jade's invaluable resources for progression. The mistake here is very simple. I was passive when it came to farming outposts as well as doing online trials, because initially online seemed quite a bit, and it is, but I would highly recommend that you're actively engaging with these systems so that you're getting the best results out of your character and not slowing down your progression. Now, beyond just doing missions, one thing I lacked early on in Where Winds Meet was properly upgrading my character's abilities, gear, and talents. For a lot of players, just equipping gear and matching affixes is something that just comes naturally, and depending on your current playstyle, you're obviously going to change sets to match what works for you. Where things get a little bit tricky is when it comes to upgrading your weapons' passive skills. For example, your martial arts, your inner ways, and your mystic skills can all be upgraded to some capacity. This will generally give these skills better benefits and bonuses. Heals become better at healing allies, damage generally increases, and any form of defensive standpoint, bonuses that keep players alive become significantly better. This extends to gear as well, beyond just upgrading the flat gear itself. For example, when you navigate to the enhancement menu, this is going to increase the enhancement level of your main hand weapon as well as all the armor, accessories, and offhand weapons. Now obviously, as you're upgrading, this is going to cost you quite a few materials, and I bet a lot of you are wondering where you can get them. A lot of these come from the wild, and you can absolutely pick them up from there, but generally speaking is not enough. So let me introduce you to another vendor that is usually ignored. Located near the West Heavens Pier teleport location, you'll run into Peddler at the Heavens Pier. He sells a variety of things like lethal crystals used for upgrading weapons, wine-scented jade for upgrading accessories, and bear pelts for upgrading armor pieces. He also comes with a variety of other curos and gifts. For example, if you're not using the fan and you're relying on hemostatic powders to heal yourself, this vendor has a stock of 99 available, and it is one of the few vendors in the game that actually sell you healing items. Long story short, equipment enhancements is one of the biggest mistakes I made early on. I wasn't ready for breakthroughs or completing journal content simply because I wasn't upgrading properly, and with this information you should be able to correct that mistake. Finally, ending this video off, I did want to mention a few things I made mistakes on early, and I'm seeing a lot of players still continuing to make those said mistakes. A few of these I've actually mentioned multiple times across other videos, but I want to reiterate it just in case someone needs to hear it. 1, you really shouldn't be spending your jades wildly, as they're going to be giving you some of the best progression based inner ways and items in the game that you otherwise would be spending on gacha pulls that bring your character little to no value, besides possibly getting a cosmetic look. Now, I am no stranger to dumping money into cosmetics, as I love doing it myself, but one thing to keep in mind is that jades are used for more than just pulls, and if you're looking to make your character the best it can be, at least saving 5,000 to get some of the better inner ways is going to be more beneficial. Next, I've also noticed players are still having a hard time when it comes to injuries, and a lot of them are walking around injured. The healer that upgrades your flask located at the Still Shore is going to be your best option. She cures elements including things like drunkenness, so you're not running around with massive stat losses and other debuffs that can make your character much worse. And of course, you can always go online and request for a player online to actually heal you. Sometimes players don't really do that, but you should generally be doing it. Worst comes to worst, come seek out this vendor. And last but not least, pay attention to vendors, as sometimes they may have items that seem useless but actually have extreme value. For example, the Honest Merchant located in the Blissful Retreat will sell you on a daily limit 5 of each wine, and if you're consuming enough of them, you will actually unlock a new stance that will give you a Drunken Master skill that combos well with other skills. That same item that you also bought from him that got you that skill is going to be used to join different guilds. So within the game, for example, I was able to join the Thieves Guild because I bought this item. Long story short, a simple vendor like this one that probably a good portion of you overlooked actually gave me 2 very big benefits: an entire new skill as well as the opportunity to join a guild that's going to give me way more rewards. Make sure you pay attention to what the vendors are selling. If they're on a daily limit, there's probably for a good reason, and at least try to investigate why that is so. And there you have it. That is everything I wish I knew sooner before jumping into Where Winds Meet. These are some powerhouse tips that took a while for me to learn, but knowing them have improved my gameplay experience drastically, made me progress in a much more positive way, and overall my experience playing Where Winds Meet for the second time has been significantly more efficient. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments if there's something you think is super important that could help other players out, something I may have missed that you think is worth mentioning. As always, I will be streaming over on Twitch as well as here on YouTube almost every single day, so if you want to stop by, hang out in the chat, feel free to do so. If you did find this video useful or helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribing actually helps me out significantly more than you think, and of course I'll be bringing you guys really high quality guides just like this one for Where Winds Meet and content long beyond. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel, and just like that, young masters, I'll see you in the next one very soon.